because it's connecting. Oh shucks, hold on, Queen. What's going on? My computer is doing something a little crazy, but it gives people time to come on.
Okay.
I want to do that. What the heck was this that just happened? My computer is doing something a little crazy, but it gives people time to come on.
Okay.
All right, here we are. All right. So, here we're back. We're back. We're back. Peace, peace, family. Dawn Spirit here. Thank you for joining my channel. This live with phenomenal, amazing Chevalier. Am I pronouncing your name properly, Queen?
Chevalier.
So Chevalier.
Yes, ma'am.
I just botched that, but it all is all coming from the heart. So Chevalier, and she makes phenomenal, amazing perfumes and colognes from natural ingredients, custom made. So give me a second. I'm gonna get a few people to join. Make sure that we get some live. I'm gonna send you the link to Chevalier.
Okay.
Let me see. Get a few people to come on. And while we're doing that, did it pop up yet? Yep, here it is. And by the way, tribe, I don't own the rights to the music that you hear playing in the background. So just make sure you guys know that. All right, nobody's on yet, so that's good. So let me send you the link. Okay, I just sent you the link. So
Okay.
send it to some people if you want to. And even if people aren't on while we're on, that's fine too, because they wind up going back and looking at the video.
Mm-hmm.
But it's mainly information, and I just love your product, so I want everyone to know sharing is caring. I love how dedicated you are and how you've transformed it, like with your colognes and perfumes, just like that.
Thank you.
Send it to the brand ambassador. So just talk for a minute while we're doing this. Just a little um, chit chat. So where are you located?
I am actually in a small city called Longview in the state of
Okay.
Texas. I'm about 45 minutes west of Shreveport, Louisiana. So, if that
Okay.
gives a little bit of a reference.
Interesting. Shreveport,
Mm-hmm.
Louisiana?
Yes.
I thought you were in Texas. You're right. That's right. I just sent a package to you. So, one of our grandsons is from Shreveport.
Oh, okay.
I have to talk to you later on and see if you know any people that they may know
Okay.
or know them. You might know them.
Yeah. Well, Longview is not. I mean, it's not that far from Shreveport.
Wow.
I know
The
that's how
United
we.
States is really so closely connected.
Yes. Yes.
I think we got a bad connection. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, so what did you say, Queen?
I said that.
Oh, you froze.
Is it still frozen?
Okay, hold on, Queen. You just froze. I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
Um, seems like I lost you, Queen.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Can
Well,
you
that
see
was
my?
weird. It like disappeared.
Oh wow. Can you see me now?
I can see you. Could you hear me? Still hear me?
Yes, I could still hear you.
Interesting. Cause you like disappeared on my computer.
Oh wow.
That's Mercury in retrograde, so
Right.
the opportunity to redo, and I'm telling you, Queen Ivy, it's just been this retrograde has really been a mofo. This
I know it.
retrograde has been off the Richter scale,
Mm-hmm.
and all right, okay, so let me just go back and see if I see anybody on yet. Well, we're not going to wait for anybody to come on board. We're going to start talking because, I mean, if someone comes on while we're live, um, but I don't see anybody just yet. Okay, we got two people live right now so far. I mean, three people. Okay,
Okay.
so welcome everyone. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining Queen Dawn Spirit's YouTube channel. And I want to introduce this phenomenal Queen Chevalier. Am I pronouncing your name properly? I love that.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
You gotta say it just right. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. So let's talk about you, how you basically where you're located, how you started your product, which is product is about, and so forth. And we can just move on from there. And anyone that wants to ask questions, um, I'll be watching the screen to see to respond to any questions. My sister's on
Okay.
here too. You both fine from my end. Okay, she says we're both fine from her end. So
Okay.
introduce yourself to everyone.
My name is Chevalier, and I am a Texas native. I'm from a small city in Texas called Longview. We're about 45 minutes west of Shreveport, Louisiana. But I did live in Dallas for about 14 years, so I consider Dallas my home as well. I started my brand Pink Mahogany in, believe it or not, 2005. It was a college graduation gift to myself to file my DBA. I really didn't know exactly what direction I was going to go with it. And because I'm self-taught, I'm a self-taught perfumer slash fragrance designer. For the first 6 years or so, it was basically me taking myself to school, learning everything I could about chemistry because I did not like chemistry in school. It was boring to me. I didn't know how I was going to apply it. So from there, from 2005 to about 2011, was strictly just me learning everything I could, reading everything I could about fragrance. And one thing that I noticed was that, well, a couple things. One thing that I noticed that stood out is that there were, at that particular time, I didn't know any perfumers that looked like me, especially that were self-taught. So what motivated me to want to actually create a brand were pretty much discussions that I started having. I'm a certified educator as well, elementary, childhood through 12th grade music. And I'm sure you all are familiar with staff developments and the things that teachers have to do, all of those meetings that we're required to attend, even in the summer when we're supposed to be off. But one thing that kept coming up is fragrance would always come up as a topic of discussion. So I was like, wow, you know, it had really nothing to do with what we were discussing at that particular time, but it was a nice caveat to have a conversation about what I thought was an unrelated topic. But one thing that I kept noticing is that no matter where I was, no matter what type of conversation centered around fragrance it was, someone would always have a sensitivity. There would always be somebody in the group that would say, hey, well, yeah, well, no, I can't wear fragrance, or it makes my head hurt, or no, I'm sensitive. There was some type of negative connotation that was attached to scent. So being an educator at heart and a researcher by nature, I wanted to try to figure out why that was. So that kind of led me down a rabbit hole of trying to figure out what ingredients cause headaches, what ingredients in fragrance cause allergies. And, you know, one thing that kept popping up was this particular ingredient called a phthalate. And I was like, ooh, that's a weird name. So I started researching phthalates and found there to be links between allergies, asthma, adverse reactions, allergic reactions, skin reactions, because the ingredient is a chemical, and it was also linked to a carcinogen.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, a lot of fragrance companies at that particular time were using it to make the fragrance last longer, because they, you know, if a fragrance stays on the shelf, it has to have some type of preservatives in it. Right. Now we have things like organic alcohol, which is what I use. But at that particular time, you know, you could use the phthalates, and the shelf life of the fragrance would be extended at least another 2 to 3 years, and it could just sit and they wouldn't have to discard it. The bad side is that it was causing a lot of reactions in people that were unsuspecting. They didn't really know what it was. So they just attributed that they couldn't wear fragrance at all or couldn't use room sprays at all, when in actuality, that particular ingredient was the culprit. So I started researching heavily on how I could create a product, not necessarily a collection. I hadn't thought that far then, but I at least wanted to have a product, whether it was a room spray or whether it was a perfume, something that people could enjoy that were sensitive, because at the time I had bad allergies as well. But it wasn't until I actually had my own experience with phthalates in plugins that I was using in my apartment at the time to try to get rid of a food smell from my upstairs neighbors. And I would just crank it up while I was gone. I was teaching all day. And if I was, you know, back between 8 and 10 hours, and it was all the way up to, I think the level is 4. And when I would get home, every day when I would get home in my apartment, I would start coughing and sneezing uncontrollably. And I had no idea. I'm thinking, because I'm allergic to mold. So I'm thinking, okay, there's got to be mold in the walls. There's got to be something. Not once did I really think that it was this simple plug-in that was, you know, pretty inexpensive to buy, but it was wreaking havoc on my health. And I don't have asthma, but I felt like I did. So one day I was like, you know what, let me just unplug this thing and just toss it in the drawer and see if that helps. Because at that time I was pretty much out of options. You know, I got tired of my apartment smelling like spices and things when I would come home, and they were very pungent. So that was the only thing I knew of to get rid of it. So I tossed the plug in, and within 20 minutes, all of my symptoms subsided. I stopped coughing, my eyes stopped watering, I stopped having to clear my throat and all of those types of things. So I was like, okay, after I had my own personal experience with that particular ingredient, because I did research the company and I did confirm that they were definitely using phthalates in their plugins, I was like, okay, I've got to, now it's personal. I've got to do something and provide some kind of alternative. I can't, you know, at the time I didn't want to try to go 100% natural, so to speak, but I at least wanted to eliminate that particular ingredient. So that's what kind of catapulted my brand. I started beta testing with actual fragrances for the skin, so perfumes. And I know people think, well, when you say the word perfume, they assume that that's for a woman and cologne is for a man, but that's just the strength of the fragrance, like how strong it is. Right. So
but I guess I put perfume and cologne for people like me that are naive to, they're ignorant to that, because I did not know.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And but I don't mind that at all, because it gives me a teachable moment. You know, I'm an educator by heart, so I don't just consider myself having a brand, Pink Mahogany. I like to educate people as well. So I get questions all the time. And I like to be able to break things down in layman's terms, because for a long time, fragrance, or to me, as a melanin filled individual from a small city in Texas, not really having access to the luxury brands, so to speak, at a young age, and thinking that it was unreachable.
Right.
I just feel like I want to be able to provide clarity, because there are a lot of misconceptions in the fragrance industry because it's been closed for so long. So I feel like now it's kind of my charge and my duty to not just have a nice product, but also educate people on that product, and also be transparent about it, because people are becoming more aware of what they put on their skin. We're becoming more aware of what we eat. We're becoming more spiritually attuned. So I just feel like, fragrance is that conduit that connects us to many different forms, whether it be spiritual or just connecting with somebody else physically, saying, hey, you smell good, what is that? Or those types of things. So I want us to be educated as well. So that was what led me to creating Pink Mahogany, was the desire to see people who say that they can't wear fragrance be able to enjoy it. Because the people that I conversed with, it wasn't that they didn't like fragrance. It was just that they had adverse reactions to it. So they felt like they weren't going to be able to enjoy it. So with me having Pink Mahogany and having the types of products that I do have and the ingredients that I use, I'm able to kind of provide that. And it definitely puts a smile on my face when they say, oh my goodness, I didn't have a reaction to this at all. And even though they're not 100%.
Yeah, let me interrupt you right there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what attracted to me to your product, because you're able to make a choice. And my issue was, yeah, I have expensive perfumes or colognes, whatever you call it, gifts people have gifted me, and I stopped really wearing. I only wear a perfume or cologne once in a blue moon. I usually wear my own, like, organic
Mm-hmm.
oils and so forth, because I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to smell like everyone else either,
Right.
or similar to other people. I would want my own scent. That's why I like
Right.
food, and you're working on something for me as well. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what attracted me to you, because everyone shouldn't have to smell like everybody else. And
Right.
my nose and my throat is sensitive to certain scents too. So like even certain incense, I can't wear
Mm-hmm. Me too.
because it's too
Yeah.
potent, or something the chemicals are not natural. Something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It'll
Mm-hmm.
block my throat chakra. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what really turned me on to you, because your products, when you went and educated me on how you can break it down and so forth, I was like, wow, I didn't even realize how much entailed. Because and then when I was a child, my grandmother used to buy me she used to wear Cinnabar. Is it Cinnabar?
Bar. I think so.
But it's kind of expensive. But she used to wear,
Mm-hmm.
and she bought it for me too when I first became a young woman.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I smell, I always remember her. But then if I smell on somebody else, it reminds me of her. You know.
Right. Right.
So I love that you custom make the scents, the colognes or the perfumes, and that's what excited me. So I
Right.
apologize for interrupting, but I had to throw that in before I forget. Can you do us a favor and give us your website information and your social media links? And I'm gonna post it, everyone, tribe. I'm gonna post it in the description, so you'll be able to reach it in case you don't have a pen and paper to look it up, or you have your cell phone, you can look it up while we're talking and can connect with Chevrolet. Can you tell us, please, your information?
Sure. My website is www.pinkmahogany, and I'll spell it because it does have an extra H. It's MAHOGHANY.com. And I am also on Etsy. So for those of you that are Etsy shoppers, it would be the same spelling, Pink Mahogany with that extra H, .etsy.com. And on Instagram, I'm very active. I do have two pages, my brand's page and my personal page, because I do have to separate the two, but I'm more than welcome you all to both pages. Business page is PM_fragrances. And my personal Instagram page is the word your, .fave, F-A-V, .perfumer, PERFUMER.
And spell your name and say it again for all of us that tortures people. Names including me.
Okay. My first name is Chevalier, and it's spelled CHAVALIA. It is actually French, so the
I
French
thought so.
spelling is slightly different, but
Yeah,
the
I thought
pronunciation is about the
it was
same.
French.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Ooh, French perfume.
My
Okay.
parents decided to be real fancy.
I love it. I love it. It fits you very well. So,
Thank you.
what made you? You said that you went from grief to success. Is that what you said? Grief to
Grief to gratefulness.
grief to
Hmm.
gratefulness. So,
Hmm.
one thing, let me before you go there, I wanted to ask you something that was important too. Um, what made you get to where you are? Because you recently have been published in the New York Times, right?
I have been. That's the most
What?
recent.
I
I
love it.
know.
I love it. So you've been published in the New York Times?
I have been. Yes.
Wow. So tell
Yes.
us about that and what made you get to that next level?
I would. I mean, I can't take any of the credit other than just being a conduit and being obedient to my spiritual ascension. The whole, I mean, even when I came to Longview, I have to backtrack in order to give context. But when I relocated back here to Longview in 2015, 2016, my twins, I have twin boys, they had just turned one. It was a huge transition time. And I just still kept trying to put the pedal to the metal with the brand, even through adversity. You know, I ended up being pregnant again. My twins had a baby brother. He passed shortly, about 15 minutes after birth. That was actually the catalyst that really pushed me to want to do better. As crazy as that may sound, it actually kind of pushed me into spiritual ascension against my will, because at the time I was not trying to think about anything spiritual, but I knew that that was the only way that I could communicate with my baby as he transitioned so soon in the earthly realm. That was the only way I had some type of peace with his passing. He would show up as he still does show up as a yellow butterfly. Yellow is my favorite color. So I had to start looking at life differently in all aspects. And in that, I was like, you know what? I can't give up my business baby. I got to keep going. So I used my grief actually to kind of channel it and just, like I said, just put all of the little strength that I had into my brand. And in me doing that, opportunities, I know it's going to sound cliche, but opportunities have really come to me as opposed to me going out trying to find them. Especially after the pandemic hit, that really kind of catapulted my business, because now writers are working remotely. They're not in the office. They're thirsty for content, and they are looking for content that is relevant. At the time, Black perfumers, melanin-filled perfumers, that was something that was an anomaly. So they were like, oh, we've got to try to Google and find. Well, in their Googling and looking for, they found me because I was using relevant hashtags on Instagram, not knowing where these hashtags were going to lead. So, one feature from Essence led to another feature with Cosmopolitan.
Essence too?
Yes,
What?
Essence too. That was actually like
I'm a
my first
celebrity
feature.
here.
Yes, that was before the pandemic hit. But what happens is once the hashtags kind of start building momentum, the writers are able to search those hashtags and find smaller businesses as opposed to the larger businesses that have the monopoly. So, and then by me speaking up and talking about the lack of diversity in the fragrance field, especially as far as careers are concerned, me being a whistleblower again, that led to other features and then the New York Times, which was huge for me because I did not know who I was sending my product to. I have a business manager and we work very closely together, and she sent me an email and she was like, hey, I need you to send out samples to this address. And I was like, okay. I didn't realize that it was the New York Times until she forwarded me the email. And I was like, I know this name. Chandler Burr is one of the fragrance industry's most acclaimed critics. And he's written several books, and I've been following him for years. And when I saw I was actually mailing my samples to his address, he writes for the New York Times in his spare time. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, wait a minute. I started putting two and two together, and we figured out that this was definitely for the New York Times.
Wow.
And ironically, the fragrance that he chose to feature was not my top seller, but he had a specific set of criteria that he wanted to highlight. And one of the fragrances in my collection just happened to have that description because he sampled the whole collection. And that's what led to the feature, and he loved
Yes,
it.
sweet.
So, but it
Yes.
did not, it definitely did not
Yes.
happen. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's so
But
sweet.
I tell
You got
anybody,
motorbike too.
yes, I'm not wearing it today. I'm actually wearing my Metatron pendant, but I do wear my Moldavite religiously.
Mm-hmm.
And, I am
You
a
bought the
firm,
motorbike for me.
yes,
That's
I
all I'm gonna
did.
say. I ran out of motorbike too after you bought your piece. All my pieces just disintegrated. Just people just buying them up.
Yes, yes. It was low stock when I got mine. I was worried that I wasn't going to get it. I tried to hurry up too, but yes,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. So, in the process of me becoming more spiritually aware, I was raised in a spiritually grounded home, but more on the religious church side. And as I went through the process of the early stages of grief,
Mm-hmm.
I started to notice I was looking at things differently spiritually. And I knew that I needed to ground myself and just kind of take a different approach, all being divinely led. So any success that I have, like I said, I don't attribute that to anything of my own. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just the conduit, and I'm obedient. Even if I'm like, oh, do I really want to do that? It's not about me because it's a much larger goal. My job is not to just help people smell good, but it's also to help them to tap into their hidden potential. And it just happens to be by way of fragrance.
Yeah,
So,
and to be healthier too. I have
right.
a question about there's a perfume that I don't care for or cologne is musk.
Ah.
Something about musk and maybe you can explain to me why I cannot stand. It's like a trigger for me when I smell
Hmm.
musk. It makes me nauseous.
Hmm.
It's just a total turn off, and I have a very sensitive sense of smell.
Hmm.
Very very sensitive sense of smell. So can you elaborate on that reason why I may not have? It's a turn off for me or a trigger.
There are different types of musks. Believe it or not, some of them are derived from animals. So perhaps, and the ones that are derived from animals are very pungent.
Mm.
They're very strong.
Oh my
And if it's an older fragrance,
god.
that's heavy on musk, they
Mm.
probably used an animal for that. So
Yeah, from
that's
a
probably
child
why.
to an adult, I cannot stand the smell of any type of musk.
Yeah, yeah. Now we do have what we call nitro musks. Like some of them are even used in game detergent.
Okay.
And nitro just means that it's a synthetic musk. They did not take it from the gland of a beaver,
Okay. Oh
like some
God.
musk
Are you
or deer.
serious?
Yes, I'm serious. I wish I
So
had. I don't.
musk comes from the gland of a beaver?
Some of it, yes.
You
Beaver,
gotta be
deer.
kidding me. That is
So
gross.
that's probably why it makes you nauseous because it's what's called an animalic musk. Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, that stuff is strong. It's
That smell
strong.
is the worst for me. I cannot stand it. It just has like a certain stench to me or fungus.
Yes. Yep. Because it's from an animal.
Wow. Had no idea. See, I learned something
Yes.
else new
Yes.
from you today. Okay.
Yeah. But the nitro musks, like the synthetic musks, they smell more powdery, so they're a lot more tolerable.
Okay. I'll have to
And
one day after I get
yeah,
my order done with you. So,
yeah.
wow.
So that's why.
Wow, that's amazing. So, I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything. You can continue to talk because I just want to make sure that I ask all the questions. People, whoever's watching, feel free to ask any questions you may have. This is your time. We're not going to be in here long. I'm not going to keep you long. Probably be on here another 5-10 minutes the most. So this is your chance to ask questions. If not, you can always contact her on her IG accounts. You're on Facebook too, right?
Yes, I am on Facebook.
Okay, so
Hmm.
I'm going to post all our information down in the description area. So
Okay.
continue on with your story or anything else that you think that would be helpful to my
Okay.
community.
I would say, because I know, especially during this pandemic, a lot of people have struggled with grief, whether it was the loss of a loved one due to the pandemic or just previous grief that this pandemic may have triggered.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that definitely helped me and still helps me is meditation. And I believe there are different forms of meditation, and I think when we get quiet and get still, we are able to kind of tap in and figure out what type of meditation works best for us. But
Mm-hmm.
that's really what helped me, because it calmed my mind, and it actually led me to start creating more of the natural products by way of essential oil diffuser blends, because I could not sleep. I was suffering from insomnia so bad, and I knew I needed to rest because I still needed to be able to provide for my twins. But
Mm-hmm.
I was just in a very, very low place. And I just started playing around with different essential oils. Again, I started researching about what essential oils are best for calming the mind, not necessarily to sleep, but that's it. That's basically what ended up happening. And as I was on Facebook, I was seeing that there were more people like myself that were having a hard time falling asleep. So I just started saying, hey, would you like to try my diffuser blend? So they started posting about it,
So you
like, oh my goodness, this
blends
is,
too?
yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so briefly, real quick, go through the lines of what your company provides, what you provide, what you
Okay.
what you offer on your website.
Okay. I have room sprays, essential oil diffuser blends,
Mm-hmm.
perfumes, and I did have hand sanitizers, but they've since been pulled due to the FDA really cracking down on Etsy. There was nothing wrong with my offerings, but Etsy just had to get rid of all of the hand sanitizer listings. But I did have those as well. And all of the products that I offer are customizable.
Okay. Yeah, I had
Mm-hmm.
a problem recently with Square where they wanted all my credentials, and I'm like, I'm central with the state. I guess they were
Right.
off, and they had like stopped me from posting items on my website and taking orders.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, what's the problem? And nobody knew what the problem was. And then
Wow.
finally, yeah, it was a mess. And I was surprised because I was with GoDaddy first, and then I went over to Square completely because Square handles my payments, and then they came after
Mm-hmm.
asking me for these credentials, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Right. That's crazy.
I feel like it's their way. They don't want us. They don't want people to wake up. They don't
Right.
want people to be healthy. They don't want people to, and I don't want to go into it too long
Mm-hmm.
about it, but there's agents in place that they don't want certain things to happen because the more holistic and natural you become, the less controlled you are.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
why I love connecting with people like you. And I'm still trying to remember how we even connected.
Oh my gosh. I just think when things are divinely guided, sometimes it's hard to trace it back. What I will say, and I honestly don't remember all of the details.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember coming across your page on Instagram. And, I don't get caught up in numbers or verified checks or anything like that. I at the place that I was in my life at that particular time, I was like, man, I really connect with her. Who is that? And then I started watching your posts. And then it was like a rabbit hole. From there, I went to your
Wow.
YouTube, and then I was just intrigued. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really feeling this queen. This is
Oh,
dope.
I'm feeling you.
So from there, I started following you, and then it was like we connected, and the rest is history. I mean, I believe that, I don't believe, I know that it was divinely guided, and I know that we are part of the same
Yes,
soul tribe. So I
yes.
believe that when those things happen, I mean, you can't just say, well, yeah, we met on this day and this and that
Mm-hmm.
happened. I don't know. I just know that we're connected,
I don't
and
remember when we met. I was connected to you instantly. I was vibing with you so well, and I always try my best 100% to treat people as I want to be treated. So,
mm-hmm,
and I ask to God, higher power, to and my ancestors, the universe connect me with like-minded people. And
Right.
I don't do that to be a friend of mine or be a part of my tribe. I don't do that competition thing.
Right.
That type of energy is a total turn off for me. I don't
Hmm.
believe in competing with anyone. I just
Right.
don't like it because it lowers your vibrations. I'm about, helping, complimenting, and helping boost and promoting other people too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's about helping
Right.
one another. You know, what I'm looking to gain in this is a lifetime friendship or connection. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? It's about
Hmm.
time that we stop fighting with each other and boost one another up and support one another instead of being that crab in a barrel syndrome. I can't get down with
Right.
that. I've had females that I've been connected to in the past prior to being in the conscious community. I've been spiritual all my life, but prior to being in the conscious community,
Hmm.
I have females that, once we became friends, then they begin to clone me. And then I was just like, or it
Yeah.
was a competition to see if they could be me better than them, if they could be
Hmm.
better than myself. And I was just like, no, we don't have to do that. Just be you, love you,
Right.
embrace who you are, embrace
Right.
are. You know what I'm saying? And,
Right.
and, I'm, and
Hmm.
I'm your number one cheerleader. I'm going to be rah-rah for you. So that's
Exactly.
why I loved your products because, like I said, once again, you make custom products orders too, and there's no two alike.
Right.
You're one of a kind. I'm one of a kind. You're one of a kind. Everybody's one of a kind. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? So I feel so blessed to be connected to you. I really do.
Likewise.
Proud of you.
Thank you. And oh, that was yeah. And I well, hopefully I can share this because I did. What was that? Was that December when I got a reading from you
Mm-hmm.
and you spoke into my business, and here we are. This is not even a year later, and
Wow.
all of these things are happening. So it was definitely in line. So I don't take any of what we discuss lightly. I refer to it periodically, and
Oh
I
yeah, your
know.
reading was fire. I don't always remember all readings when the spirit talks to me, but I do remember
Mhm.
bits and pieces, and especially that particular night because the readings was just I like the ancestors, everybody's ancestors,
Yes.
all the energy was just popping in my head, was just pumping. And I was like, what? Am I supposed to say that? And then the music was vibing with us, and it was just so
Yes.
magical.
Right. Right.
And we all have the gift. We all have gifts. And the wonderful, phenomenal thing is that you are creative with your hands, not just by making colognes and perfumes and scents, but you're a musician too, right? You're a music teacher
Yes.
as well.
Hmm. I am.
So you know what your craft. You're on the right path.
Right. Right.
And so many people, that's another blessing. So many people want to know what is their correct path and don't know how to
Hmm.
get there. And you're there and you use grief and you use grief to help you. And that's because you were doing the healing. When you're doing the
Right.
healing and you remove certain blockages out of your way, that's when you evolve, that's when you elevate. And people don't
Hmm.
realize that. That's how it happens. You being depressed and not working through and not doing the healing work is just going to make you continuously depressed, and then it's going to make you ill eventually.
Right. Right.
You know. So
Absolutely.
I wanted to see if anybody else had any questions. I'm sorry, my So anything? Is there anything else, Queen, that you wanted to share before we sign off?
Nothing other than I just wanted to thank everybody, and I look forward to connecting with those of you that are on now and those that will be able to view this in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to being able to share on other platforms about myself, and these opportunities have, like I said, just with the features have just fallen in my lap, and I know that it's for a reason. So I'm humbled and grateful to be able to share with you guys today. So
Yes, and
that's
she
that's
got
all I
Believe
have.
in Me T-shirt on. Yes, okay. I'm so honored. There was one other thing I wanted to say, and I totally forgot. And I'll ask you later. It'll probably come to me. But oh, what publications are you? What issues are you in for New York Times and Essence, so they can look that up too?
Ooh. Well, most of my features have been online. I do have a couple of magazine features, like physical magazines, The New York Times, we're in May, I believe we're in June, that was May. So, but if they Google pink mahogany, New York Times, it'll probably come up.
Google you.
And that's probably the easiest.
Google me, honey. Yeah, I remember when people used to say, I mean, it's not as easy as it used to be. Well, it is. Yeah, it wasn't as easy at one time as it used to be, but it's more easy than it was at the beginning. But you want good features and when people Google you. But I remember years ago, I guess about 12 years ago, when someone said, "Google me,"
right?
You could Google me like it was a big deal, and it is still a big deal, but it wasn't as easy. It was kind of hard to
right.
But now you can so you say just Google you under pink mahogany, correct?
And they could probably do pink mahogany, New York Times, and it will probably come up. The link, I'm trying to think, I think it's on my personal Instagram. I do have a link tree, and it shows every publication. I do. It shows every publication to date. So, and if that's not updated, I'll make sure that it is, and you can go down the rabbit hole and learn all about your girl.
Okay, so let me ask you, so what are the ounces that you sell and that you make?
Right now, I have travel sizes, which is 1/3 ounce. It's about the size of a cigar. I'm trying to see if I have any.
I see you got your little shop right behind you, Queen.
Yes, this is my madness. All this behind me, scale and everything. But yeah, the standard travel sizes, which would fit, in a clutch or a purse or even a pocket for the fellas. And 1.7 ounces, which is the standard size for perfume bottles.
Okay. Yeah,
and I do sell samples as well for those that just kind of want to get acclimated to the brand. I don't recommend blind purchases. I do want to make sure that it's something that they'll like. So I do sell discovery sets and the samples by themselves. So if they're like, I think I like just this one, then you can purchase just that one. So yeah, I try to make it flexible.
I'm definitely gonna have to try the room sprays too.
Okay.
Because I senses a lot to me. I don't want to walk in my house and smell food.
Right.
I can't stand that. I'm a very scent conscious person, so scent a big deal is a big deal to me.
Right. Me too.
So is that the largest size that you make?
Yes, to date. I will be offering 3.4 ounces in the future because I do have retailers and that's their preference. So I will be offering.
You make it for retailers too.
I'm in negotiations now with two.
Yes.
So
how long does it usually take to make one custom order? How long will it take you?
Usually I would say upwards of about 3 months. And that's only because now everything is mailing the samples and then they decide, oh, well, can you add a little bit more of that? I like this one, but can you tone this down or tone that down? So it can take about 3 months, sometimes longer. I do have a client that I've been working with since January, and that's only because they travel. So and they didn't have a specific, deadline. It was just something that they wanted to have. So they weren't able to necessarily sample the samples that I sent out to try them right when I sent them because they were out of town. So I just try to be flexible, but an average of about 3 months.
So wait a minute. No, but then you do have some products people can just purchase outright. You're saying that's for
yes.
But if someone just wants to purchase outright from you, and it wouldn't take that long.
No. That's just for the custom side. For my actual collection, average shipping time is about 5 to 7 business days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what is your highest, your biggest feature fragrance for the cologne, the perfume cologne, the sprays?
It's actually a tie, believe it or not, and it's a tie between one of my what I considered one of my feminine fragrances. It's called Poison Cournomet. But the men love that pineapple in that Poison Cournomet. They love it for themselves. So I was really kind of taken aback. So that's one of my top sellers. And Tandem, which is my gender neutral fragrance. I do offer fragrances for both men and women, but what I'm finding is that whatever resonates with that person, that's what they want to wear. People are kind of breaking away from the traditional, well, if it's woody or if it's woodsy, then I don't want that because it smells like a man. Now, granted, there are some fragrances that may be more feminine or more masculine, but when you put it on the skin, and it's reacting with your body temperature and your body chemistry, it may not smell like that. So
Right.
those are my top two. And the Posum Cournomet was actually surprising to me because I created it quite simply. People think that fragrance is very, very complex. Yes, when you're creating it, but I don't use a lot of ingredients in Posum Cournomet, but it's complex on the skin because it reacts to everybody's body chemistry. So yeah, those are my top two.
So I love the smell of oud.
The smell of oud.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
We were talking about that for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I know it could be a little expensive to make as well for the oud because
Mm-hmm.
it's made. Okay, well, you gave me a lot to think about. I'm gonna have to get a couple of your samples too, because the pineapple for my husband,
Okay.
and see if he likes it or not, and see if I like it. I'm quite sure I would like it. But
Okay.
is there anything else you want to share with our tribe, Queen?
That's all I can think of. Hit me up if you all have any questions. My DMs are always open. So I look forward to continuing this conversation, even if it's outside of this platform.
Yes.
And thank you all for listening to me today.
Yes, thank you, Queen. Well, thank you, everyone. I love you so much. And thank you for taking out the time to join us. I'm sending you all Reiki healing and to higher vibrations. And may you manifest your true intentions. Remember, we still have this full moon energy for another couple of more days. Remember, the full moon energy is 3 days prior to the full moon day. I'm not full moon, new moon. 3 days prior to the new moon, and then 3 days after. So you're still in that new moon energy. So manifest your true intentions. I'm sending you love and light and prosperity and abundance and protection. Love you guys so much. Ashe, namaste. Hold on, Queen.